Good afternoon and welcome to the crypto market update. I've got Crypto Mark here. Mark, it's been a while since we had the SwapAcross date, but we've April 6th today. We're going to make this happen.
Absolutely. Salutations, everybody. And yeah, great to be back, man. It's been a while. It
So
has been,
we have done 17. This is the 18th. It's
well,
taken us
lucky
2 years.
number.
It's taken us 2 years to get to the 18 level mark. But anyway,
Nice.
Mark, before we get started,
hmm
I want to just make sure that all discussions in this episode, as in past episodes, are for informational purposes only. And SwapAcross is not soliciting legal, business, environment, or tax advice. You should
hmm
consult your own advisors as to those matters. References to any securities or digital assets are for illustration purposes only and do not constitute an investment recommendation or offer to provide investment advisory services. Mark, it's been a while. Where do we go? To the charts? You want to jump to the
Yeah, I mean, it's a hot time, man. Hot time to be on the charts. Oh, I need to get some screen sharing
you
going
now
on there.
are able to screen share.
Yeah, all right. Let's hang on here. Let's see what we
Bitcoin. So
got.
when we last chatted, what was Bitcoin at? Before you jump into that, I'm going to just check.
Oh, Lord. It's been a while. How long ago? When was the last time we did one?
So
Let's go
Bitcoin
back
was
in a
around
week.
45,000. Boy, that seems like a decade ago.
45,000?
Yep.
Wow,
Yep.
it was like that was like February, man. It can't have been February.
Early January, we did the last time we chatted. So
Wow, it's been that
on this,
long? Yeah,
we've
that makes
obviously
sense.
chatted since then, but yeah, so there you go. That gives you
Mhm.
some perspective.
Wow, lots has happened since then. As you can see here, this is the weekly chart. So I'm on the weekly here. So you can see every week has just been pumping, man.
Yeah.
And like you get like pump, 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 and then like a little bit of a breather, and then continue pump. But I mean, if you look at the monthly chart, I mean, it's just like, man, like look at that. Look at that. This was February. It was just a masher green candle.
But you know what?
And then
Resistance, it went down by like 65-ish for a while, and it was like this. It was sort of resistance level. I don't know where you see that in the charts from the past couple of
yeah,
weeks
right
or so.
here. So you can see on the weekly,
Yeah.
it's finding resistance here on the 20-day moving average. Sorry, 9-day moving average. Um,
So it
yeah,
found a
so you can
floor. It found a floor, and it popped up
yeah,
to
it's a
70
really good
something.
sign. You know, it's I think at the moment it's taking a much needed breather because
Yeah.
it can't pump any. I mean, look at the chart; it just like it's literally off the chart, you know. But it's insane. It's just been pumping. And I read yesterday, or I just read a tweet today. It said yesterday alone, BlackRock accumulated like 420 million for their spot ETF. And I think someone told me like since it's been approved, they're already at like a few billion now in
Yeah.
Bitcoin accumulation. So they're like, I mean, they're just gearing up to pump this thing. And I mean, with that being said, like Bitcoin halving coming up. I think I should have the halving as one of the articles here. Yeah, maybe we can move that up one. But so I mean, this is what the chart's doing in my opinion. And again, it's just my personal opinion, not financial advice. But just taking a bit of a breather here. You can see, it's a really good sign that it hasn't sold down. It just means that there's still so much buying pressure
Yeah.
on it, and I think we could see it, probably this month tread water a little bit. So you'll see it between like 60, 70,000, I think, between that range. And then next month we'll see it continue to go up would be my expectation. And by the end of the year, I definitely think we can hit 100,000, if not earlier, probably by
Well,
June
see,
or
I think this,
July.
we've talked about this in the past, and I've heard this on other podcasts where they talk about how the price and the consistent volume of activity is not requiring, it's causing people to build on the Bitcoin platform as opposed to just Ethereum because they've got the
hmm
tremendous volume. So, I hear time and again that they're making the sort of layer two level ETFs and as ordinal. So there's things happening because of this price and the volatility. Is there something? Remember that we talked about the VIX, which is for ordinary stocks. Do they have that
hmm
same measure for Bitcoin or crypto?
Not really. I mean, the fix itself it looks at like the number of put option contracts versus call option contracts.
Right.
So I don't think they've ever like really put something together like that for crypto. I don't know how effective it would be. I think maybe like with Bitcoin it could be, but yeah, I mean it's not a bad
It's interesting when
consideration.
the
Although,
price went up, I've heard some of these DeFi or, the exchanges, we're making the most money we've ever made in their short 2-3 year life because people
yeah,
are taking out some profits, right? I mean, I don't know about on the down low, but when I listen to, say, the Bloomberg guys talk about ETFs and the traders like the volume up and down. They like that volatility versus exchanges. Well, does it make the same for exchanges? I don't know. What's your view on that? If it's
yeah. I mean,
going up or down.
it's still the same thing, right? I mean, you're just trading on the price of the underlying asset,
Yeah.
right? So, it doesn't matter if you're trading it on ETF or if you're trading it directly off an exchange. I mean, you can still short, or I think really the volatility is it gives you the opportunity to be long the asset or short the asset. So it gives you that. It gives you the potential to make money both ways, right?
So is there anything interesting you want to share with us? Say that the moving day, the MACD down there. Is there anything specific that because I know you've done this in the past and you've wowed
Yeah,
me and the two listeners.
I mean, you can see like it's really just cool. And also, if we're looking at um, look at the RSI here, right? So, and this I'm on the monthly chart.
Yeah.
So since January, it was like RSI 70. I'm looking at the middle one here. RSI 70. Then February went up to 83, 85 last month, and now it's cooling off a bit, right? So now it's
Right.
down to 80, and I would expect like it continue. It's just really hot, man. I mean, if you look at
What's
like
RSI, Mark?
look
What
at
does
this,
it stand for?
if relative strength index. I mean, specifically like what it does. I can't remember exactly what it measures, but I know like if the RSI is over 80, like or 70 or over, but people can. I mean,
It's overbought.
it's
If it's over 70 or over 80, it's overbought.
right, or I mean, yeah, it's subjective. It's like how you want to set that. But if it's over 70 or definitely over 80, it's overbought. And then if it's under 30 or under 20,
Oh,
it's oversold, right? So people use it as like indicators if
yeah.
it's time to buy or sell, right?
Right.
So you can see like, as I hit 85, it started selling off again. But I would say like this is just you have to use all the indicators together, right?
Sure.
You can't just look at one specific one. But it's still, I mean, if we zoom out on the chart here, like just like look at this chart, right? So this is since August of last year. And then okay, let's say September of last year, right? It every month has just been it's just been ripping it since September of last year, right? So,
And
it's
it's
like
not parabolic. Like, some curves that are just so, astronomical. The curve is almost 90-degree vertical.
well, I mean, look at this one though. If we stop it at like if we stop it at last month,
Yeah.
it's almost like a 90 degree, like it's just
Yeah.
crazy, right?
It
But
went crazy and then it's kind of
yeah,
leveled off a little bit.
we'll stop it in
Yeah.
February. But yeah, I mean but the buying pressure is since that spot ETF's been approved, right? And you can see it's just been really pumping. Which is, I mean, it's a really good sign. I think like we would see definitely some point this year, if not like this summer, we'll see 100,000 Bitcoin if the trajectory continues.
Sure.
Um, yeah, and then who knows where it'll go from there. It's a really good sign though, I think. And like, if we're looking at the MACD, so it's just kind of reinforcing each other. It helps, if you zoom in a bit. But and again, I'm on the monthly chart here, which is like the long-term view. But you can see here, like at some point back in, well, this is November, um, the so it's moving average convergence, divergence. So looking at like I think it's the 21 day or whatever, or the 9 day has crossed. So the 9 day has crossed the 21 day. It's very like faint here, but you can see it like as the gap is moving here with the purple,
Yeah.
which I believe is the 9 day versus over the 21 day. Um, so when the short-term moving average crosses the long-term moving average, that's a bullish signal. And then if the short-term moving average crosses the
Goes
long-term
the other
going
way.
back down, then it's a selling signal. Well, you can see here, so I crossed here going up, and so that's and since then it's just been bullish. And the gap's water and water. If we see it starting to cross back over, that would potentially signal a sell, but
So,
yeah, we'll see like how you have to look again, like you can't look at them individually, you kind of have to look at them all together, right? And see
sure.
what's the story that it's telling.
Well, let's go. You've got some articles teed up there. Maybe we should pop into the some
Yeah,
articles
absolutely. Well, I mean,
that you've seen recently.
on the topic of Bitcoin, we got Bitcoin having a head, right? And actually, I think on the site it was said 13 days, I think. Estimated like 13 days, 4 hours, something, something. So it's coming up. By mid-April here, yeah, it's yeah, expected to take place on 420. So hilarious. I don't know how they time that, but that's pretty
So,
funny.
Mark, well,
Um,
I mean, that's interesting. What
yeah.
does it mean? I'm just a quick definition, if you, in your mind. I mean, I have a thought, but what does it mean to have?
Yeah, so I mean, since the beginning of Bitcoin, right? The payout rewards to the miners is like a set amount, and then as it reaches like this hash rate threshold,
Yeah.
um, then it's how it was designed by Satoshi Nakamoto, right? And then it was designed so that it would like go on for a really long time. But it all it means is like now, like it works out to be about every 4 years that the amount of rewards that are paid out, it's cut in half. So for instance, like initially it was like 10 Bitcoin per block, and then
Yeah.
like 4 years later it was 5 Bitcoin per block, and then it was like 2.5 Bitcoin per block, and then 1.25, like, and then just continues
Okay.
like
So
that.
the miners get rewarded less of a reward
Yeah,
for the value of their the trade. Okay.
exactly. Yeah,
Or not the value of their trade, what they contribute to the block. Sorry, that's what I meant to
yeah,
say.
yeah,
Yeah.
to validate the block.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So that's interesting. So the happening, that's a technical issue. It'd be interesting to know how that was built into the system, right? I mean,
Hmm. Oh, I mean, I had read like I can't remember if he invented that or if it was like because I know like Satoshi, whoever he was, he kind of combined a few different ideas into one because there was like some other like kind of cryptocurrency, not cryptocurrency, but some kind of like virtual currency payments that he would like took some ideas from that and then like took some ideas from the
yeah.
SH201, which is cryptography, and combined it all together. So yeah, I mean, but it's pretty genius how it works, right? Because like I think even with these halvings continuing, it's still projected that they'll be able to mine Bitcoin until like the year 2100. But the problem is like now it just like it requires more hash rate to mine. So these guys are like using more electricity because they're starting using more miners. So think about if you're a Bitcoin miner and you were making like $10 million this year at your current setup. Well, next year you're only making 5 million. So what are you gonna
Yeah.
do? You're gonna double your operations, right, to make that same money back. You know what I mean?
Or you knock people in half, you cut your staff or
Yeah, one of
the
the two. I think
quotas.
they'll probably like to see that money coming in, right? But who
Yeah.
knows? I mean, yeah, it's the mining industry is tough. Bitcoin mining, it's a pretty cutthroat game, I think, out there.
Well, the
But yeah,
cost, and then
that.
there's the cost as well will go up because if you take Nvidia's and their GPU units, right, which are the
Yeah,
main, they're using them for AI and algorithms, but I understand it's the same chips or those units that are used to mine to do the mathematical calculations for the blockchain or the Bitcoin
right.
blockchain.
Yeah, for Bitcoin mining, it's so they use what's called ASICs, which is
Oh,
application specific
oh, right. They don't use the
graded
GPUs.
circuit
They
or
use
something like
ASICs,
that.
not the GPUs anymore.
Yeah, I think like the GPUs. I'm not sure if they've made it. I haven't been following the mining industry for a while, but
Yeah,
I know they were using like the GPUs to mine other coins, and then
you're probably right. You're
I
right.
don't
That's
know if
right.
they've now
ASICs.
like been able to convert the GPUs into being able to mine Bitcoin. I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've looked into
Yeah.
mining, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean it's still pretty cool. I think I would still abide by the charts, and everyone always thinks like, oh, the halving means
Well,
that
but that
Bitcoin's
the
gonna
charts,
pump.
Mark,
Like,
the charts put sense into, when people say, "Oh, should I buy it?" And well,
hmm,
I can't tell you whether you should buy it or not. You need to make your own decision, and you've said that many times, or and I've heard people say that you need to make your own decision. But you
hmm,
put sort of, there's sort of this. It puts more sense to it. The rational, right? It's rational, more exuberance versus just going out and buying it because everyone else says to buy it, or your broker says to buy it, or whoever.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think like my expectation would be this month probably still going to be pretty static, like trading between the ranges of 60 to 70K. I wouldn't even like be surprised if we see a sell down after 420. And everyone like it's funny because everyone expects like 420 is going to pump, But then next month, I would expect like May is gonna start pumping again. It's just like right now it's taking this little cool off period because it's been so hot the last few months. But I would expect like May, if the trajectory continues, that we'll see
Sure.
it hit over 70,000 again.
It's
Um,
ironic that the word 420, that's a big cannabis. It's a big reference
right,
in cannabis as well,
hilarious.
right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how they planned that. That's pretty funny, but
It's
yeah,
amazing. But so 420 is a big day in the cannabis calendar as well.
yep,
So it'd be the
yeah,
two together, two worlds, not natural pairings, but they certainly will come together on the 420,
right.
the crypto
I
and
mean,
cannabis.
I think there. Who knows that? Because I was at East Denver, and oh, sorry, I shouldn't. Sorry, I'll something later. I was at East Denver like a while back. Was I think on March? Yeah, and like some of the merch are like, because each of the projects have their little stands set up,
Yeah,
and some of the merch that one of the projects was giving out was like weed rolling papers and stuff. I mean, weed is legal. It's
that's
legal.
right. In
You're legally allowed
Colorado.
to sell this. Like they have dispensaries and stuff in Colorado.
Yeah.
So in Denver, they had like it's legal. But it was funny because I'm like, they're handing out like rolling papers and like weed paraphernalia as merch. So 420 Bitcoin. I don't know. Maybe it was a line. Who knows?
I guess, like if you think crypto, I saw a tweet the other day and someone said, even with the price of Bitcoin and other altcoins are at all-time highs, yet
Hmm.
I can't even find a group of people that understand or will talk about it, right? I think it was on Reddit, or I think it was a Reddit post. And I'm like,
Hmm.
it's still people just aren't adopting it, right? Like cannabis is sort of the same. There's still that kind of nichey people and say other gambling or gaming. You know what I mean? Like it's nichey, yet these things are growing. They're growing, these nichey areas.
Yeah, it just takes time, right? It's like any, like you look at the curve of adoption of technology, right? It's like
Yeah.
it takes a while for that mainstream adoption to happen. But I think, now that we have the big players like BlackRock and some of these big guys
No,
behind
you're
it,
right.
we'll see, some changes, I think, in how the rate of adoption.
What
But
else have you got teed up there? Looks like you got a
yeah,
couple
yeah,
of
just sticking with the
crypto.
Bitcoin thing. So I also know, so Paraguay, surprisingly, I don't know if you knew this, but and if if you remember way back in the day from the crypto 528 days, you were looking at doing Bitcoin mining in Paraguay, which is pretty funny.
Oh, I
But I
didn't know
saw
that.
this
Okay.
article.
I knew you guys talked about mining, but I didn't realize it was in Paraguay.
Yeah. So Paraguay has one of the largest hydroelectric dams in the world, and they were producing
Ah,
so much power that they didn't know what to do with it.
yeah,
So they were selling it like really cheap for Bitcoin mining. But now it looks like so it looks like they're now proposing a law that's going to ban Bitcoin mining in Paraguay. And I think a lot of like the Chinese, because I mean China had they were allowing Bitcoin mining, then they banned it, and once they banned it, a lot of the Bitcoin mining went to like Kazakhstan and or like Uzbekistan and
yeah.
Paraguay, um, and now Paraguay is looking to ban it because they're saying like there's illegal people like illegally using it and not claiming not paying the proper like dues for the
Yeah.
power,
Yeah.
like basically stealing power, right? To, to
But that was
do
a big
it.
thing in Europe, like in
Yeah.
Sweden and Norway, a few years ago. It was that same thing. People
Hmm.
were using when power interest rates were going or power rates were going up
Hmm.
excessively, and here there's people mining crypto when others are suffering. They're paying high energy bills, and
Yeah, man. Well, I just got our power bill here, and it was like $500 a month. I was like, how? Just mad, like
well, it's air
electricity. And we're not
conditioning.
mining
You got
Bitcoin.
to run the air cons like in the Middle
Yeah,
East.
it's
Five
ridiculous.
hundred dollars. We lived in the Middle East in Dubai, and it'd be easy 1,000 or more per month. So
Holy shit.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
All right,
crazy.
Mark. What else have you got there?
Yeah, I was just this is actually just an article on Paraguay, and so it was saying like I was just trying to find out how much Bitcoin mining actually was taking place in Paraguay, and it said it would translate to 1.4 per 5% of the total network hash rate. I'm not sure like specifically what that translates into Bitcoin, but you can see here this is so Paraguay, Brazil, they share the same dam. It's yeah, it's one of the largest hydro dams in the world. So
Huh?
interesting to see like what if that has an effect on Bitcoin mining,
Sure.
because a lot of the miners would be forced to relocate and things like that. But yeah. Anyway, next, so this one, this one was, if you're following the Binance
I'm
saga,
not.
no, I mean, it all started with like CZ being arrested for like money laundering and all this stuff, and they had shut down. I think they had to sell Binance US, But now this one's like interesting. So Nigeria is really cracking down on Bitcoin and stuff as well. And so there was one exec, and I'm not actually sure if he was like Nigerian, but he was a Binance executive, and he's now been put in jail. But there was another Binance executive that actually escaped, and
Gosh.
he's like on the run, man. So if you look in the article, yeah, so was forced to, oh, sorry, not him. Where's the other guy? So there was a British lawyer, if I can find it. But he basically like went to it was like mosque or whatever. He was going for like prayer,
Yeah.
and he had got some forged documents and got out of the country. I was like, oh my God, like he's literally on, yeah, here's Cameron has been charged alongside violence for money laundering and tax violation. I'm trying to find the other guy though. I don't know exactly where it was in here. But yeah, it was like he was like full on, like doing some sketchy fraud stuff there. It's pretty crazy. Um,
But it's
yeah.
amazing where it stretches to. I mean, for all, all places you'd think Nigeria, oil, and maybe other,
Hmm.
other money, fintech. There's big things going on in fintech in Africa, and then, the guy getting arrested in Nigeria. It seems out of
Yeah,
place.
these are Binance executives, right? And it was like
Yeah.
it's just kind of crazy. I don't know what is going on there, but sounds like a madhouse at Binance. Um, this one's come up recently. Like, so Solana's been such a hot network recently.
Right.
And it's funny, everyone was talking about like, oh, Solana, like they have this crazy transaction per second rate and like blah blah blah. They're the future of crypto. And now like the network's failed a couple of times like in the past, and
Yeah.
well, even last year I think it failed. They had to shut it down like temporarily. But now again it's getting congested again. So I don't know if they're ever gonna have a proper solution for this. I hope they do. I mean, we're actually planning to launch our token. We're planning to do a pool, a liquidity pool on Solana, just because it's been so hot lately. But this is kind of like worrying, looking at, um, yeah, it's just
Well, one of the
because
articles, I
people
don't
are
know if
starting to
you took
move
that
liquidity
article.
off of it now.
If you took that article on Athena and that whole maker, that whole article about putting liquidity into the system and the rates are paying, I don't know but I think they're on Ethereum. Athena's on Ethereum. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, well, I did some digging into it, and so it looks like they are working with Blast, but that's like those are
yeah,
EVM based chains, right? So,
yeah.
very interesting. I mean, I kind of looked into it a little bit. Yes, we can move off that. We'll move in. So this actually, I was just
But so
looking.
that I don't know the Solana. I haven't looked at Solana. I hear it up and down, and there's obviously the stock prices, and a lot of people are building on Solana. Maybe they're just not ready for the bandwidth, right, to handle that load. I don't know. I'd
Yeah,
be interesting to look at that, Mark. To see why Solana's having these problems.
yeah. I mean, it's funny because they were saying like, everyone was when Solana first came out, they're like, oh, it's this super fast network, has the most transactions per second
Yeah,
throughput, like 140,000 or whatever.
yeah.
But then I don't know what's going on there because they need to find a solution. Because I mean, think about it. We haven't even reached like scratched the surface of mass adoption yet, and it's already like failing, right? So I mean, imagine if they onboard a million users tomorrow, like it was gonna crash, right? So
Well, that their market cap is almost, if you take the coin itself,
oh, it's
it's
been
78,
pumping.
80 billion, but ETH is, five times that.
Yeah,
Um, and that's a testimony, I think, in terms of value, it's certainly a testimony to the builders that are on Ethereum. I wonder how many developers are on the two. That also that's a marker or key
yeah.
indicator of the strength of the two platforms or
Oh
any
yeah,
platform.
I don't think you couldn't even make the comparison. I was like, it's like if you look at total value locked like TVL,
Yeah,
Ethereum has by far the like exponentially more than any other network. I think Ethereum's at like 50 billion TVL or something ridiculous like that. And then like the next closest one's probably Arbitrum or something like that with like
yeah.
3 billion TVL, like or Binance like 3 billion TVL BNB chain. Um, but yeah, you can't, and like the builders, everyone. That's just the thing that like I saw a message in one of my group chats today, and they were talking about, oh, like L1. Someone was asking like, what was people's opinion on Aptos? And it's like there's so many different of these like layer ones and these
Yeah.
layer twos coming out, layer threes coming out, but the space, and like somebody had replied saying, the space is just so saturated with all of these like L1s, L2s, and I think there were coming out of 2021. for a lot of losers in the L1, L2 space, right? And there was a lot of VC money that got sunk into these L1s, L2s that didn't go anywhere. Because like I think now, unless you have a very, very good use case for your L1 or L2 or whatever it is, you need to attract developers, like you said, and you need to attract liquidity, right? So,
Well, developers, yeah, yeah, liquidity is important. I mean, developers are one thing, but once they build something, are people using it on the other side? Once it's
exactly.
done, once they deploy it, is it
Yeah,
being used for whatever XYZ case, a business case?
exactly. Yeah,
So
exactly,
this,
right? So you need both.
I mean, but I'll let you talk about the article that you've looked at, but there's been two podcasts I listened to on the Athena thing, and what's happened is they put
Hmm.
liquidity into, or MakerDAO has jumped all over this, and they're basically the MakerDAO. If you go back to them, they basically are using the Ethereum and Bitcoin to create liquidity and stake and pay percentage out. So Athena has created this. It's not a stable coin; they call it a synthetic dollar.
Right. Yeah.
So what have you got to say about this? So it's interesting. There's a lot of controversy. And the guy from Athena said, look, we just want, we're not worried, we're not here to, oh, it's a different. So they were comparing Athena to what was that one that
Terra.
Terra Luna.
That's what I was just gonna say. It's
And
funny that they said on the
he said
podcast. I
the
was just gonna say
difference
that.
is the market's making the price
Yeah.
because the market is dictating the return or the liquidity, leverage, what you get
Yeah.
on what you stake. And he said the difference is they were using their coin, the Terra Luna coin, to prop it up, and here we're
Yeah.
using ETH and Bitcoin to prop it up. They have hard
Yeah.
assets.
I still think like it reminds me a lot of like the Terra, the Luna situation.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, here they're saying like as Athena, they're synthetic dollar, they're using like derivatives, blah 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 blah
yeah,
blah. But I think like everything always is nice and rosy in a bull market, but the
yeah,
true testament of like will this asset survive is in a bear market, and that's exactly what happened with Luna, right? Because with Terra, because it was all great, everything worked in the bull
yeah,
market, but as soon
yeah.
as there was a bear market, it just collapsed, like
And
literally collapsed, right?
that's the
And
point, right? So what happens? So you create what he was saying, and again, it seems I can put that into the show notes because the Athena Labs guy was saying, well, what happens is you put principal aside. You've got principal that when
Mhm.
there's a down market and the rates go down, you've got to weather the storm. You got liquidity to weather the storm. But yeah, it doesn't if they're using their own coin versus other coins. So there's you're
Yeah,
right.
but
It's
it's
probably very
like
similar.
if you look at like the parent with so Maker, like what Maker does is it allows you to create a vault so you can deposit like collateral, so like say like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I think they
Yeah,
have like a few selected collaterals that you can deposit, and by doing that you can then mint your own stablecoin DAO, right? So that's kind of like how the Maker structure works, but now they're integrating with this synthetic dollar where I think you can use the synthetic dollar as collateral where they've kind of done this like cross promotion thing or whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think I look at it like my in my opinion, it's like the true test of like will this asset, and the thing is like it's a stable coin, right? So people are putting their money in like if I'm putting my money into a stable coin, I'm putting it there because I don't want to lose my money, right? I want it to be the same value a year from now or like 6 months from now, or whatever. But like if 6 months from now, if I have my money in this synthetic dollar and it collapses and I've lost like $100,000, I'll be pissed, right? And that's what happened with Terra and Luna. People lost millions like overnight.
That's right.
Literally
That's right.
like had millions of dollars, and like it wasn't even. I could see if you're sitting in like an asset like you invested in some shitcoin or like something, and you're like, oh, I have $1 million, then tomorrow it like got rugged or whatever. But like if I have my money in like USDT or USDC or a stable coin, and I'm like, oh, nice, I've got $1 million sitting there just chilling, in my account, and then I log in tomorrow and it's worth $0.
Worth
Like, can you
nothing.
imagine
Yeah.
that? So for me, I would never even trust these things until I've seen them. Like, has it survived a bear market, right? you
Yeah.
know, because if people start withdrawing their collateral, and then you've got like all these restaking initiatives, and like, it's just it could be a mess, right? And I think like for me, if I want to make sure my money is safe, I'm happy chucking it in USDC or like especially USDC because there was that time when it was like 2021 or 2022 when something happened with the circle when it like lost value or
That's right.
whatever. And I think,
Yeah.
and what happened was like Circle actually put the money back. They backed it up and they're like, hey, no, like people aren't going to lose money here. We'll reimburse you the money, right? So I mean, like your money's safe if it's with Circle, right? It's not going anywhere. These things would just like sketch me out a little bit,
Well,
I
these
don't
guys,
know.
so before you and I mean, this is for I certainly can't speak on the technical side, but the
Hmm.
Chopping Block podcast, the episode that aired on I think a Wednesday or Thursday, they literally Hasib Qureshi, Tom Schmidt, Tarun Chitra, and Robin Leshner, they do they go into real technical stuff. The nuances with Avi, how's Avi's involved, MakerDAO,
Hmm.
and this whole thing. So they'll get into that, and I would recommend Mark or anybody who listens to this, literally listen to the Chopping Block, the latest episode. But in general, those guys do a wonderful job of unpacking some of these technical sides. So
Hmm.
it was fun to listen to. I listened to it twice just to get familiar. And they said the biggest thing here is the rates they're offering. MakerDAO is offering a tremendous staking rewards. So they talked a lot about that. So
Yeah, you can see even here, like, right, this is their white paper. Look, like, right on the on their thing, it says like USDE is not the same as a fiat stablecoin like USDC, USDT. It's a synthetic dollar collateralized with crypto assets and corresponding short futures positions. This means that the risks involved are inherently different, right? So please see our extensive risks
yeah,
section.
yeah,
So I would advise like anyone that's interested in like, and I think that's a lot of the problem is people don't really want to do the DD or like they just don't care. And
yeah.
they're like, hey, I'm just gonna chuck my money
They
into
just jump
this
on.
and
They just jump
right?
on and stake it.
Yeah.
And
No,
put
I would
their
definitely do some DD if I was gonna put my money into this thing, and I wouldn't be like chucking all my money into it. But yeah, so that's that, and then just kind of moving past. I've been hearing a lot about Blast, and I hadn't really done enough like DD into it, so I kind of just went into it a little bit further. So this was a really good article that kind of explains a bit about like what Blast is and how essentially like the biggest difference between Blast and other Ethereum based L2s is so they will pay yield on your stablecoin assets and you don't need to stake it. It's just if you're holding stablecoin assets, I don't know if there's like a specific threshold or whatever, but they'll start giving you yield. It's not very much yield. It's like 4% or 5% or
yeah.
whatever. But very interesting. I mean, it's an interesting concept, but I haven't really I haven't really dug into Blast just because again, I don't see like there's so many L2s and L3s and L1. Like it's just the fragmentation of liquidity is just ridiculous. I think at some point like it'll come to a head. But you can see here,
Well,
yeah,
it just hemorrhages just it dilutes the overall space versus.
yeah,
And I guess what the one guy was saying is that people once people start making money, he said everybody's rah
hmm
rah rah kumbaya in the beginning when there's a new protocol coming out and they kind of work together. And as soon as someone's making money, they just
hmm
diverge and they I mean basically like you just said, it's so diluted or fragmented,
yeah.
just chasing the same few people are chasing, they're trying to chase yield, right?
And that's exactly it, man. And like the liquidity just moves from like L1 to L2,
Yeah.
whatever is given like the best
Yeah.
point farming, the fun thing. And it's just I don't know. To me it's just here like you can see here versus the other L2s, right? So these are the other big ones, Optimism, Arbitrum. And what's the biggest difference is like it does it gives you native yield and shares gas revenue 100% to devs. Like great, like how does that benefit me? It doesn't,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so I mean maybe with the native yield on stablecoins, right? But like when's the last time if I'm holding like a significant amount of stablecoin in my wallet for a prolonged period of time, I'd most likely just put that into some kind of farming, like yield farming, where I'm actually getting like real yield from it. But anyway, it's still I know there's like a lot of liquidity and stuff going on, but anyway, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, this is just a little article.
Well, Mark, we'll have to take a little break. We've run out of time on this segment, so
Okay,
we'll finish off with
cool,
funding
that's a big one.
announcements, and then last words from you.
Yeah,
But
fundraising.
so let's switch off, and then we'll come back on.
Sure. All right.